Hi, confrontation is a part of life. Anytime you are dealing with another person or other people, there is more than likely going to come a point where you're going to have to confront. And a lot of us don't have those skills. We never learned those skills. We learned how to adjust and adapt in other ways. A lot of times we tell everyone else what the problem is instead of going to the person we're having an issue with. But today I'm going to give you 7 simple steps to make confrontation a lot more doable for you. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can heal from it, avoid it, and overcome it and move on with your life. So today, everything is coming from How to Stop Chasing Rejection. It's my book. I will put a QR code and also leave the link in the description. So today is 7 steps because especially if you struggle with codependent traits or if you were scapegoated, there are so many reasons why we struggle with how to confront someone, and it can be really overwhelming, very daunting. It can bring out the worst in us when really we can learn how to just kind of like come right down the middle and talk to someone about an issue we're having and resolve it and move on. It doesn't have to be so complicated. It doesn't have to be so emotional. It doesn't need to be so scary. So on page 70 from How to Stop Chasing Rejection, here are 7 steps. So the first thing to understand is sometimes there is an issue that you need to take care of on your own. And sometimes it's an issue that you actually need to talk about with someone else. And if you decide it's an issue you need to talk to someone else about, even within that part of it or part of that equation, we still have to pick apart and how much do we just deal with ourselves and how much do we actually need to discuss with the other person. So just because there's something that we're not comfortable with or something we're fed up with or something we're not wanting to have in our lives anymore, that doesn't just automatically mean we need to go talk to another person, because especially if you struggle with codependent traits, sometimes it's like that inner wrestle turmoil where we're overstepping boundaries. And so we just need to back up for ourselves and stop overstepping, and then the issue resolves itself. So that's not something we would talk to someone else about. That's something we would have to determine. So the first thing you want to do, this is number 1, is really map out what's the problem. So I'm going to give you these steps to follow so that you can decide, oh, this is just a me thing or this is a we thing. And if it's a we thing, how much is just me and how much is us? So this is how you're going to sort of like deduce down or take these steps to sort of get to the bottom so you know what it is you're dealing with. So the first thing, when you recognize there is an issue, you don't just go talk to the other person. So you can take out a pen and paper. This is the same thing that I do. I take out a piece of paper and I go through these prompts and answer them to kind of get to the meat of what it is the issue really is. So the first thing is, what is the issue or the problem as I see it? That's the first question you're going to answer. And I would really not just do it in your head. I would write it out because it just helps so much to actually see it on paper. And when you're kind of just in your own head thinking, you could sort of just start thinking about a whole bunch of other stuff. So you might sit down to map it out, but in the end, you really didn't go through the whole process. So this is where it's good to actually sit down and write it out. So the first one, what's the issue or the problem as I see it? Every time we confront, we want to understand this is just my opinion. This is how I'm viewing it. It doesn't mean that this is how it is or this is what's actually going on. So you got to sort of like get right with yourself on that. Like, this is just as I'm seeing it. This is my understanding up to this point of the issue. So that's the first thing. We want to just be mindful of that. The second thing, number 2, what is one possible solution as I see it? So now that we've identified the problem, now we're saying, okay, what's one possible solution that I'm seeing? The third thing is, what's another possible solution as I see it? So we keep bringing it back to, this is not the best way. This is not the only way. This is not the right way. This is just something that I'm viewing as a possibility that could resolve this issue. So you're looking for 2 of them, right? Because question number 2 is what's a possible solution? Question number 3 is what's another possible solution? So a lot of times we go confront someone but we don't have any idea what it is we want, or we don't have any idea how we want it to be different. And that's really hard for another person to get on board and work with. And also it's hard for us to know when like it's over. So sometimes we could just keep badgering, keep poking, keep fighting. And, finally someone says like, what do you want? And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Right. So how am I expecting you to know when I don't even know? And I'm the one bringing it up. So really important that we figure this out first. Number 4, who do I need to speak to about this issue? So this is where you're kind of seeing like, oh, well, it's a me issue. I don't actually need to speak with anyone. Or, okay, who is my issue really with? Sometimes the person we think our issue is with, once we start to answer these questions, we find that's not really the person who can help me resolve this. It has to do with them, but it's not the person I need to talk to about the problem. I need to go to the person that can help me resolve this. So who do you need to speak with? Number 5, when is a good time for me to bring it up? So this is where we're having a lot of planning. We're really looking at best possible scenarios here. We're not just, ambushing ourselves or ambushing another person, because that's not going to go well. It's going to be probably really emotional and it's going to lead to a bigger mess. The next one, if you decide to confront someone, once you do, you can read your responses to 1 and 2. So if you're going to go confront someone, you can actually just pull up your paper like, this is the problem as I see it. Here are 2 possible solutions. So it's okay to have a paper and read from it to the person and say, I've put a lot of thought into this. I also realize that maybe you haven't, and here are my possible solutions and the problem as I see it. Also, would you want to, you want to make sure that you don't vilify the person, or you don't accuse the person of anything. You don't sort of like hate on them. And you also want to make sure that, number 7, once you've confronted, write about it, because you can learn so much from blowing it, having a failed attempt, or even having a successful attempt. They're all good information for you. So number 7 is really learning how to write about your experience. What did it feel like? What was scary? And if you followed through, how did it go for you? Was it as scary as you thought? Was it scarier than you thought? Or if you didn't follow through, why didn't you? What kind of kept you or prevented you from doing so? All of those things are really good, valuable information. So I'm going to actually give you an example. And again, this is a fake character, a made-up character. Her name is Susan, and it's from How to Stop Chasing Rejection on page 71. So this is Susan's example. Okay, so she works in a space where she rents a warehouse with others, and they also rent space. So she is in this big warehouse. You have all these people renting space. So it's kind of like they're all on equal playing fields, right? Because they're renting a space and so is she. Susan's job requires her to be on the phone. She has to talk to customers throughout the day. And she really likes most of the tenants and enjoys their company. But there are some tenants that get really loud throughout the day. They joke around, they prank each other. So sometimes there's like screaming, there's like really loud, hysterical laughing. And it's starting to be a problem for Susan, because now her customers are complaining, like, it's too loud, I can't hear you. And they get frustrated with Susan. And Susan doesn't have any control over how loud these other people are being. Plus, she's paying for the space. So it's like she's paying for a space that she's not really even able to use in the way she needs to use for her business. So that's really frustrating, right? So here is Susan's process as she walks through the steps. So number 1, the issue as I see it. This arrangement is not working for me. So if you notice, Susan is not vilifying anyone. She's not saying that these people are so annoying, these people are disrespectful, these people have no manners. She's not saying any of that. She's looking at the true bigger problem, which is this space is not working for me. The next thing, number 2, what's one possible solution? I can rent another studio to work out of. That would solve her problem, but probably create a lot of problems on the way also. The third one, another possible solution, I can stay here and see if we can have the workspace more clearly defined so everyone's on the same page, and I can have more privacy and it could be quieter for her. So that's another possible solution. So then the question is, who do I need to speak to about this issue? So I would need to speak with my partner to see if we can afford for me to move to a new workspace. That makes sense. Or my boss first, and then my coworkers to see if we can not her boss, the warehouse owner and the other tenants to see if we can more clearly define the workspace. And if there's any other solutions that they can offer me because this isn't working. Number 5, when is a good time for me to bring it up? Fridays are more laid back. I'll speak with my partner on Tuesday, then the warehouse owner on Friday before lunch. And if I decide not to stay, I can start to find a new place to rent. Number 6, what are some of my thoughts after the experience? How do I feel it went? Did I fall into people pleasing or not hold any boundaries? Did it teach me? What would I like to do differently? And then after she confronts, of course, she can go through and answer those questions. So you can see how on its face, it would seem like the problem to confront are the tenants who are being too loud and who are really making a lot of noise. And that is also a possibility, but if there are a lot of them and it's happening like in a bunch of little different pods, for Susan to go to every single one of them and expect that every single one of them are going to miraculously stop, it's probably going to just really frustrate her and continue on. So she was looking at the larger solution to the problem she's having, which is, can I get another space within the warehouse? Is there a way that I could be a bit more secluded so it's not so loud? Or what's it going to take for me to rent another studio? Because the big problem was it's not working. So this is a really great example to look at. Sometimes we get so hyper focused on who our issues with that we kind of miss the bigger issue. And what we want to try to resolve and confront is the bigger issue, not just the little problem that's right there in front of us, because it's probably going to be one after another, one after another, one after another, just like it would be with, these tenants that are loud, multiple tenants that are loud, and then deal with those. You have other tenants that are loud, and then you deal with those. You got other tenants. So overall, she just needed to fix it. So fix the issue in whole, which was, I don't have enough privacy. I can't really control how loud my environment is, and I need to be able to do that. That was actually the problem. So hopefully when you're confronting, you try to look for that bigger problem, the bigger issue. You take time to write it out. You walk through those prompts. If you decide you need to confront someone else, you make a time. That is going to be good where there's not a lot of distractions, where that person has a good chance of being able to really give you attention and be able to hear what it is that's going on. And then you also make sure you come with 2 possible solutions with the understanding that they are not the only solutions. They're just a starting point. So you want to look at it as, this is where I'm starting, and you want to leave it open for them. What do you think? Because they may have a better solution, and you wouldn't want to shut yourself off from that. Sometimes when we confront, we're really just looking at changing the other person's behavior, and we're feeling like we know how they should do it. And so that we get really hung up on that, and then it turns into a fight when that's not really resolving anything. Instead, it's, what is the issue as I see it? What are 2 possible solutions that could, accommodate what it is I need? And you need to be able to think big. Like for Susan, it wasn't just about the people being loud. It was, can I change spaces within here, or do I just need to move somewhere else? Those were bigger possibilities than just trying to make those people respect those boundaries. So I hope you find this helpful. I hope you go through those 7 steps anytime, the next time you need to try to confront someone or something. Again, you can find the book on Amazon. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.